Welcome everyone to another live stream. Today we're talking about my bucket list for fish keeping. Now so far in the chat, if you've been here in the pre-game live stream chat, everyone's been talking about the fish. Yes, but there's a lot more I want to do than just keep fish. I mean, there are fish I want to keep, but there's places I want to go, things I want to do, and we're going to talk about all that, So after I've done so much, what is there still left that I want to do? And this is a great topic, and it comes from a gamer's wife. So a gamer's wife, you might have seen her on YouTube. Well, she's now doing a little more for us, besides just the blog articles, which if you're not reading our blogs, we're creating masterpieces over there. And I say we because I write so seldomly, but I do weigh in and give topic ideas and proofread and add info and inject me into these blog articles. But if you go to the website and you create an account, they'll automatically get emailed to you every time we release one every week. Otherwise, you can just go there and peruse and read a bunch of cool stuff. But so I am going to start with some fish and that kind of stuff that I want to keep. There's not too many things that I haven't kept before. I've kept a lot of stuff. 15 years to some of you is not very long at all. Some of you that are newer to the hobby, it seems like a very long time. The reality is, between always having, I think, outside of being new to the hobby and having 3 or 4 fish tanks, I rapidly went to 40 plus within 6 months, right? So the last 15 years, I've been in possession of 40 plus tanks in my own personal collection, but then typically I have a store also. So after a year being in the hobby, I started working in a store, and there's 300 tanks there. My current store is 100 tanks, and in general, I interact with a lot of fish. And so when I see things I've never kept before, I research them, I want to bring them in, and maybe I keep them for a while at the store. Maybe I've kept them and bred them at home. But a lot of times I have personal interactions with so many types of fish, and the things that have left some lasting impressions I still want to work on are usually failures or things that I'm seeing no one else do. So one of the ones we're in the fish room right now that was on my list, and is still on my list, is really working with rice fish. I really like them. I think they're cool. I think they're going to be very prevalent in the U.S. hobby, give it 5 years or so. And I want to be part of the pioneering portion of that. And so oh yeah, Corey's had them going for a long time, and be able to weigh in on them and help you guys be successful too. One of the other ones that I really think could do really well in the hobby, and I've played with them once or twice before, I think twice, are the rainbow shiners. And they're this fish that kind of looks a little drab. It looks kind of like a rose line shark with an orange line instead of that kind of red line. It's like an orange line, kind of drab for the first 18 months of its life. And then when it gets into breeding mode, which in our home aquarium should be almost all the time, they get this nice purple spangling on them that is this metallic purple that looks insane. What I can't figure out is why they're so expensive wholesale and retail. We had to retail them when we brought them in 15 bucks a piece. We kept them outside year round, and they actually did really well. And I think they're native to Alabama and a few other states around there. And so they're used to these very cold waters, and they can go relatively warm as well. And so I really want to play with those guys. They breed, they spawn over rocks basically. So if you're going to spawn them in an aquarium or a pond or something like that, you get a Tupperware container, and then you fill it with marbles or rocks. And from there, what you're going to do is put a power head above it. So you've got these rocks, you've got a power head pushing a stream above it. They want to lay the eggs in the stream because in the wild they let the eggs out and boom, there they go, so they don't instantly get eaten. Well, and they would fall down in the cracks. We do that in our aquarium. They're going to lay their eggs down in there, and then you can just take that out, put it into an aquarium with no predators, and out hatch the eggs, and you've got fry. I've never spawned them. We've got them in a really good conditioning, and we've seen some spawning behavior out of them, but invariably I end up selling them or moving or doing something in my life that means I don't have the time to dedicate to them. The last couple years, I've really been traveling a lot. And so that is on my bucket list to still do of in my mind, I envision this very long pond that might only be 18 inches deep, maybe 18 inches wide, kind of a raceway. And then I could put trays down in one end where the pump was and let them spawn there, kind of keep an eye on it. And I also have these dreams of like underwater cameras, so I can see when they spawn, pull it out, put it into another pond, raise them up. Already has green water to raise those, which would be super helpful. And in general, be able to supply. My end goal is always supplying other hobbyists and bringing the price down on a lot of this stuff. I mean, I'm the type of person that's willing to pay an exorbitant amount for a fish because I usually know I can sell it once I breed it at a lower rate. So if I buy them at, you know, $15 each, and I get a group of 6, and I've invested $90, if I sell them at $5, one spawn, if they spawn 80 of them at a time, is $400. So by the time you factor in food and raising, you're like, okay, I probably broke even on that first spawn. Then everything after that is just pure profit. And so that's why I don't have a problem kind of being the expensive one, but I know there's a lot of people that maybe don't have the skills yet or just want to keep a fish and not breed it so it will never recoup its money. And yeah, so the rainbow shiner I think is overlooked in the American hobby. It's cherished in other parts of the world. And it might be one of the best looking fish we have that's a native to the United States. It's honestly very cool. Google it and you'll see how, you know, in that breeding color, whew, I'm not sure there's many fish that look better, honestly. It looks like it'd be saltwater. So that would be definitely one of my bucket list fish for sure. The other one is, again, a multiple failure on my part, would be cardinal Sulawesi shrimp. And these shrimp kind of look like peppermint cleaner shrimp from saltwater. They're red with all these white polka dots, and they have nice white, for lack of a better term, feet. They've got all their legs, and on their feet, like the bottom or the last segment of their legs is white. And so it looks like they're dancing when they're eating, and it looks super cool. The problem is, when I was getting them, they were all wild caught. They were very, very new to the hobby and very, very expensive. These are shrimp that sometimes were $60 a shrimp, right? And I went through 2 rounds of not doing well with them, and the wisdom was that they wanted to be very hot, so he kept them at least 85 degrees, and they wanted very hard water, so we kept hard water. But being wild and that kind of stuff, they were pretty sensitive, and the way they got shipped in, they were pretty weak. And now there's more people breeding them, and I've seen some other setups of people breeding stuff, you know, as hobbyists that I've met. And so that sheds some insight. And the reality is, I think now, if I was able to buy someone that had captive bred them and bring them to my studio here or my fish room, I could get them going, because I believe I was very close. They lasted a long time. They never quite started breeding for me. And they're, in my opinion, the coolest shrimp ever, but almost no one sells them online. And so I don't think anyone's really cultivating a ton of them. And then also the second part of selling online is, if everyone is keeping lower pH shrimps, you know, cherry shrimp, crystal shrimp, all that, and they're doing well, a lot of people don't realize that they're going to keep this other shrimp that wants the exact opposite water parameters, and so they die when they get them and they put them in their water. And as an online business, you might go, oh no, they're dying and now they're angry at us thinking we sold them bad shrimp, when the reality is their water is improper. So I think that's part of the reason they don't get sold a ton. Same reason we don't sell crystal shrimp in the store. We have the same problem, the reverse. People breed cherry shrimp, they go, that'll be fine, we get some of those, and they all die. Then they're angry when their, you know, their $8 to $10 shrimp dies and they bought 10 of them or whatever. So those are definitely on my bucket list. I still want to fly river turtle. There's still other things I want to do in terms of maybe breeding and the hobby and all that. I mean, there's always going to be more fish. Every day I learn there's another fish I haven't kept that I didn't know existed. Maybe, you know, I've got some fish in my fish room right now from Peru that none of us on the trip had ever seen it before or knew it existed. It's a newer species. I think it may be the first one that's ever come into the United States. I can't quantify that. So that for all I know, there's a guy that's like got a bunch of them. But the wholesaler said the second time they had ever even seen it, not even the wholesaler, the exporters, And so usually they're used to seeing lots of the same thing. I mean, people go collect a thing, they sell it to them, then they go collect that thing again and they sell it to them, and they do that again because they're making money, right? And so it's the second time ever, so likely it's pretty new in our hobby, unless this wholesaler or exporter had never seen it before. Maybe it was prevalent in the 80s or something. All right, so I've got, what's a new format here is I've got kind of some notes to keep the show a-rolling. And it just reminds me of some cues, you know, like most times I ever forget to ask you guys, if you're watching the video and you're 10 minutes into it now and you're liking what we're doing, consider subscribing. I know it's a pain in the butt. You got to find your password or recover it. But that number, while it seemingly does nothing, it does help us improve our influence on the industry. So if you want to make a change in the industry or help us make a change, when that number is bigger, that's all that companies look at. They don't look at how many views we're getting or anything like that. They just go, this person has X. And the bigger that number gets, the more influence we have to actually change products and do things. And it's becoming more and more apparent as we get larger. More and more companies are like, hey, Aquarium Co-op, would you like to do a thing? And then we see we can work something out. It hasn't worked out yet because usually I want to do much bigger things than they're thinking or work on bigger projects. But I'm sure as time goes on, we'll get there. All right. So what's next? What fish do I want to breed? I'm trying to think of what fish I really want to breed. I found myself, I'm in a circle, and I wonder if you guys, let me know in the comments, do you fall in this same circle? I want to breed everything I used to breed. So like, let's say 8 years ago, 10 years ago, I was breeding a bunch of stuff, and I miss raising those babies. So like right now in the fish room, I actually have Crebensis again, and I have Apistogramma Orange Flash. I've got some new guppies from Twin Cities Guppies, by the way. They're awesome. Officially, that's sponsored. He sent them to me for free, so hashtag that's sponsored, but I'd more than pay for them. They're super cool. I've been on the wait list for 18 months, so I think he felt guilty. But I'll make sure I shower him in dinners or something to pay him back. But what I find is I reminisce about, oh, remember when that tank was set up and babies were coming out and it was just working so well and I always had fry and I loved it. I remember that part of it. And so that's what I'm working on right now is, you know, watching Crebensis lead the fry around the tank. I want to show you guys that, but also I want to enjoy that again and might do some more Bristlenose Plecosimus. My wife absolutely loves to breed the Bristlenose Plecos, especially the little albino ones. And that's where I'm not so much on the train of I want to spawn new things I've never spawned, because I think in the first 10 years I spawned what I'm intrigued by, and that's a lot of live bearers, a lot of smaller dwarf cichlids. I still want to, you know, kind of have the tip of the hat and be able to be like, oh, I intentionally spawned these Oscars. You know, we've had accidental spawnings at the store and that kind of stuff, but I want to maybe really replicate some of that. But I don't know if I'm truly inspired to do that or I just want to be able to check it off. And so I find myself continually searching up the fish I used to have and want to keep again. And yeah, so I'm interested to know if you guys have had that experience or it's always you want something new. I definitely went through that phase for many years where it's like, I want to do stuff I haven't done yet instead of redoing remembering the glory. So, in fact, if you guys are watching the stories, so by the way, on your mobile phone, your cellular device, you can access the YouTube stories, and you'll see some other little snippets. We set up some of those ponds, which the members got a little 3-minute video about, and the stories we have a floating fry basket that Dean made, and we put 4 females. Well, we've already got fry in there. And we thought they were about to pop with babies anyway, and I'm going to be out of town at the Aquatic Experience for like the next 4 days. And so we got them in there, babies already going, and that's some of the stuff. Somehow I still am intrigued by guppies. Like even though I've got a bunch of guppies, I've made a billion guppies, I want to make more guppies, I enjoy all the fry. So that's what's going on there. I hope to you know, do that with a few more live bear species, but slow and steady. We're not racing to get that done. Did I have any bucket fish that did not live up to expectations? Yes, this is one of the things that I find happens to me the most. I fall in love with possibly someone else's setup or just what their fish are like, and then when I get the same thing, it's not what I wanted. And so, what are some good examples of that? I think in arowana, when I got the albino arowana, I was like, oh, it's gonna be dope. And then it turns out I was like, well, I mean, it's all right. You know, and then so that tank had clown loaches, and then it also had, we were talking about this earlier, it had some lemon Oscars in it. It also had an albino arowana, it had these other oddballs, but I was never truly in love with it. I mean, I liked it, but I knew it was like, you know, I'll sell these off. And I feel like that way about these clown loaches. The clown loaches I have right now, somehow it's not the same magic as it was the first time. And so I'm feeding them, and I enjoy them a bit, but I used to really be enamored and love them, you know, where it's like, oh, I can't believe they're so cool. And now I'm just like, oh, they're nice, yeah. Feed them, go look at guppy babies, right? So I think maybe you burn out on stuff. I think there's part of that. And definitely a lot of livebearers. Like I went through a lot of collectoritis when it came to livebearers. I needed like the pygmy platy, the pygmy swordtails. And a lot of times what I would see is you see the best picture you've ever seen online of a fish. You order it in, they come in as babies. All right, you grow them out, and then you see their adult potential, and you're just like, these are not like the picture really. Like they're all right, but they're not like that picture had the perfect flash on it, and they color corrected it, and they did all the magic to it. And it's like, oh, I really was. And so I'm not sure, is it because I wanted what was in the picture so much that I'm underappreciating these, or are these actually just not very good? Either way, I know that I'm like, I'll just sell them at the store and I'll find something else, you know. But there are items that do surprise me as well that I never would have thought I fell in love with. Like one of my all-time absolute favorite fish is a cheap fish from PetSmart, and it is the Sunset Variatus. And I had gotten those for a client that I was cleaning their aquarium. I liked livebearers. They wanted a lot of color. And to this day, I still love that aquarium that we set up for them. And I know they'll be going in a pond that I have because they do just look really good. And it's something about that fish that I love. Every time I was, you know, it's a weird feeling. I'm literally jealous of the aquarium that I take care of for someone else. I could set it up at any time, and yet I'm super jealous of their aquarium. Meanwhile, I have some of the rarest fish ever in my fish room, and I've got all these breeding projects that have to pan out and a lot of stress, and yet I covet the aquarium that I service for them, which was just a 36-gallon bow front that was planted with these platies that were amazing. I mean, there were some other fish in there too. So we've got new members I want to address. Steve Crotty, Mike P, Real Deal Fishing, Loop Noop, Hoopy Poops. Wait, Hoopy Oops, not Hoopy Poops. James Shearer. Well, thank you. We had a regression in the membership, and that is, I think the cards got charged, and then some people's didn't go through or something, and then we lost a bunch of members. I don't know. Or people got angry. Either way, we're on the way, on the backup, on the upswing. The memberships have made an impact. So I've always said this is more than just money. Like, one, I'm enjoying the small community. That's super cool. And in fact, today we released a members only video from Peru that we shot while we were in Peru. It's the first video we've like made dedicated while we're out on location for members. It's only like 5 minutes long, and it mostly shows food and the market and that kind of stuff, and Dean doing some drinking. And so, you know, if you want a few laughs, go watch that after this. But YouTube approached me today, in fact, so I have meetings with YouTube, and we're getting into a new beta program. And normally I would tell you what it's all about, but this one's like new enough that I had to sign an NDA. So I can't tell you what it's about. I can't tell you the title of it. I can't tell you the features. But I basically was told I'm the smallest creator to get into it, and it was because we've done well with memberships and some of these other beta programs, like utilizing stories and we've utilized community page for a long time, And there's some other ones that we're a part of that you guys haven't seen the features come out yet. They'll be coming out soon. And, you know, so it really is moving the needle. And I'm very hopeful that when I get to give feedback on these items, I've already seen some of them be implemented. And so it's crazy to think that, you know, the 1,000 of us here in this live stream are making impact basically on the entire YouTube platform. You know, it's not like I tell them they do a thing and then they do it, but they go, well, what's your experience with this? Or, you know, I provide feedback of like, I found this is really challenging right here. Can we fix that? And they go, oh, because a lot of the people that are working on these things, they don't actually use the product. They're developing it and they know how to do it, but they don't know a real life person how they use it. So yeah, it's actually working out really well. Got a couple new members, Mary Angel and Eddie Hoblock. Welcome. A few super chats and we'll get back to my list. The Fish Tank Barn, ooh, is donating $5 to the Aquatic Experience Fund. Have I ever played with black-chinned livebearers? Yes, the Metallicus livebearers, they're actually on my list of things I'm looking for. They're one of my absolute favorite fish. I bred them for so many years. What I keep seeing now is them having more yellow bellies or their gonopodium not being black. They should have a nice black stripe all the way down their lower body. And I check Aquabid probably twice a month, and I'm never seeing the black-chinned livebearers. Originally, I got mine from Gary Lang. And that was way before I knew he was like a super rainbow fish nerd. He actually came to speak about rainbow fish. And at the time as a hobbyist, I'm still just a super livebearer nerd. And so all I got was his livebearers. And his strain was great. He got rid of them too. And last time I talked to him, he was missing them as well. So we're looking for a very good Metallicus black-chinned livebearer that actually has good black coverage and not just mostly a yellow belly or clear. But yes, love that fish. Absolutely love it. Shrimp safe, nano livebearer. Oof, it checks all the boxes I wanted to check. Love that fish. I could easily put that back in the bucket. Get in there. I'll take it. All right, Ginger. Oh wait, we've got one in between. Brian Rojas with the $5. Thank you very much. Jessica asking, what's a good, well, I assume it's a good. Maybe you're asking what's a terrible. I assume you're asking for a good recommendation. What's a good recommendation for a 29-gallon with tiger barbs and silver tip tetras? So it's a very active tank. A centerpiece fish there. So we could have a lot of nipping going on. What I personally would do, this is Corey personally, I would recommend you get yourself a Jurapari, which is a geophagus. It's going to be a cichlid that will probably get about 8 inches in your aquarium. It's going to be a large fish for there, but it's going to be able to hold its own versus those tiger barbs and everything, and it's a sand sifter. So it's going to dig all day long. 29 is like the bare minimum I would even attempt something like this in, and long term, I think if you really love your aquarium, you know, 3 Christmases from today, you're going to get a larger aquarium anyway, and you can port that whole system over there. And that's what I would do. You're going to get a lot of that spangling color. Look it up, Jurapari, great fish. I do want to breed some more earth eaters. I used to breed a ton of those. I kind of was livebearer nerd. Then I became African cichlid nerd. Then I kind of became dwarf cichlid nerd. And then I was breeding a lot of geophagus. And now I'm just all over the place again. So, but love that fish. Love it a lot. Will 4 sparkling gouramis get along in a 15-gallon? Yeah, most likely. You could probably make that work. Ooh, we're celebrating my new... Oh, wait, I'm getting lost. Hold on. We'll celebrate that later. Ginger Graves, the $5 super chat. From my cribs to yours. Oh, thank you. I have 2 breeding pair, and I love watching them care for their young. As an aside, how do you like the iPhone 11 camera? I haven't shot any videos on it, like dedicated for YouTube yet, but the wide angle photo portion of it, amazing. Dean and I were playing with that when he was over here, and we were shocked at how wide of a shot you can get from so close. And that can be extremely useful for aquariums. Like a lot of times I'll visit someone's fish room and right behind me is the next row of aquariums. You can't get back to get the shot of this big aquarium, but this will allow me to do that. So I actually believe that some of these improvements will actually change the way I'm able to film and shoot the video or shoot the photos. So far loving it. The biggest thing I miss is it doesn't have a battery case yet. And I like the iPhone or the Apple ones because they're integrated. Hopefully that's to come because I can burn through a battery quite quick while filming. So that's the one thing I am missing, I feel like. All right, we're going to jump back in. I'm going to talk about on-topic subject, and then we'll dive back into the chat. I don't like to ignore you guys for too long. This I thought was a great question. And this is why I love having someone else make the show, because I feel like I excel in a Q&A format. When I have to think, like, what would be interesting? I'm not good at that. I don't have that good skill. But this question I like. Who do I wish I could interview and why? So, you know, part of my fish bucket list, there are people that I really want to do interviews with and that kind of stuff. I think one of them, I would love, and I might be filming some of this weekend. So one of the things I want to do is, if you're familiar at all with like a Shane Dawson on YouTube, very large YouTuber, you either know about or you don't. But basically, he would interview people that have been through controversial things, right? So I would really love to actually do a real open interview with the king of DIY. Ask about different trials and tribulations from the YouTube career. Ask about life stuff. Ask about the building of the gallery. Did that pan out? What's going on with the website that's never surfaced? Like, just get some of these answers and be diplomatic about it. So it's not like I'm not there to make someone look bad or good. It's purely to ask. What Shane Dawson kind of does is ask the questions that might all be on our minds or you've seen a lot asked. So that would be one interview I think would be very fun to do. I'm also going to attempt an interview with John of KD Tropicals. We're going to try and film that in the hotel room this weekend. And I want to ask all the tough questions about failing a fish store. And so it's obviously a sensitive subject when you ask someone to like talk about where they failed. But I believe a good video could come out of that, in that what were the hardest parts, and then me digging a little deeper. So when it's like, oh, this was a problem, and then I go, yeah, did you hate the customers? Was this going on? Like, do that. The whole goal is that if you're watching the video and you're going, I want to know about this, that hopefully I'm in your mind and I do ask that question. And then I can offer a little insight of what I found worked in my business and that kind of stuff. But that's another one I want to do. But besides YouTubers, like, that's just a couple of things that, in the YouTube space, there are people I really want to talk to. Mostly the people that are surrounded in controversy. I really want to know from their mouth, is it real or not? So, like, maybe Heiko, sorry, my voice still having a little bit of problem. Not much though. Like a Heiko Blair. There's a lot of controversy around that guy. I would love to go, people say X. What do you say? Right? And just keep going down that rabbit hole. And I'm sure there's some others like that I really, I would love to maybe interview Oliver Knott someday and ask him, like, what's really going on with losing his social media accounts and all that kind of stuff. And another YouTuber I'd love to interview would be ADU Aquascaping. He's been gone for a long time, but I want to know, like, well, why'd you go? Like, what happened? Was it burnout? Was it your life got so good you didn't want to do YouTube? Is it, all that kind of stuff? So there are quite a few people I want to interview. Yeah. All right. So we got some more super chats. Caleb Shrimp and Scales is celebrating his new YouTube name, formerly CMPI82. Well, I will say that Caleb Shrimp and Scales rolls off the tongue a lot easier. So, have I found any of my bucket list fish on my field trips? No, but that kind of ties into some other the questions. one of it is what fish rooms, fish farms, countries do I want to visit? I would really love to see some puffer fish in the wild, like freshwater puffers. So Thailand's up there. I mean, obviously, I would love to see Mabu puffers in the wild. I will really want to film with some African cichlids. Are there any farms? Oh, I really want to go to an arowana farm. I think that would be really cool. Ideally, like I keep thinking of some cool content, like in Singapore, visit an arowana farm, and then maybe if I can get into the ponds and like GoPro underwater with all these giant arowanas and stuff like that, I think that would be super cool. One, because you guys might like to watch it, and two, I know my own eyes would be like, this is crazy, right? I want to do some adventurous stuff with Chris Lukup, the Shrimp King, where we go and see maybe some wild rainbow fish in Papua New Guinea, that kind of stuff. But really, I'm turning into an adventurer. I want to go anywhere there is to go where there might be anything worth looking at, whether it's fish or not. And yeah, so while I haven't found any of my bucket list fish, the cool thing is you find fish that have never made the list. You go, didn't know that was so cool. Now that I see in person, it is. Or didn't know that fish existed. Now that thing's super awesome, and I would put that into a bucket list. Yeah, that's a good point. Like fly rubber turtle breeder. There's like rumored to be like one or two maybe. But what you bring up is I kind of would love to do a. I'd like to go visit where they're from. They're from Indonesia, right? Like I'd love to see them in the wild. Like, and maybe that might change my perspective. Like, oh, I'll never have one, or maybe I'll want one even more. I have no idea. But just seeing stuff, like I didn't care about sea turtles, right? Like sea turtles or whatever. You see them on every Hawaii piece of art. You see them on TV. But when I saw them in person, I was like, whoa, these are giant turtles. I didn't realize they're like this big. They're seriously massive. They're like, I don't even know how many hundreds of pounds. They're huge. But, when you see them represented not in real life, I'm thinking like, oh yeah, turtles, man, turtles. No, these things were just ridiculous. Like I could ride that thing. I'm not allowed to touch it, but, All right. Have I ever had longfin danios attack celestial pearl danios? No, I haven't. But I've never kept that combo. But zebra danios are pretty feisty. I could see it. James Holbrook says, watch the stream manifold made with sponge filters and power heads. Have I tried? Yes. I've tried many times. Failed 4 times. I've read way too many articles on loaches online. I've watched videos. And what I find that is not being properly expressed in videos and articles is that you're trying to match some flow with the intake on the other side. You run the piping underneath the gravel, right? Well, in a vacuum that works. But the minute it starts clogging up with fish poop, because you're ramming everything through there, now water, it's slowing down, right? And it has never worked at the way I wanted. And I think there's a lot of fluid dynamics there that my brain doesn't comprehend, of pipe size to flow size to intake size to all of that. And whenever I've set it up, it's always looked kind of ghetto. I've tried times where I'm like, let's hide all the sponges with rocks. Let's leave it open. Let's try smaller sponges. It's always been, I even tried one where we were building it where I wanted all the piping to go behind the custom background we were building. Even that wasn't that great looking. So I think that, it needs to be some kind of setup, which I've seen in like an inner zoo, which would be kind of the infinity aquarium design where they've got bottom inlets and the pump is outside the tank and all that. I think that's more in the line that we'd have to go. I strongly have considered having a tank made where all the water goes out through bulkheads, goes down to pumps in line, and then comes in the other side. But even there, you're going to need strainers, and you got to worry about the fish and all that. So it's a dream that it's still there, but you know, honestly, after 4 failed attempts, you end up losing a lot of money and time. And my wife can attest to it. Like, every time I do it, she's like, oh, here we go, another river setup. You know, it's like, oh, dang it. You know, it just hasn't panned out for me. And I'm starting to realize maybe that's one that I can't do. Maybe it's me personally. Pardon me. All right. We have some new members. Ooh, and some more questions. Carrie Pitt, thank you very much, Carrie. And Laura Deemer and Carlo. I appreciate it. What air stones are in the 800 gallon? They are, where'd that box go? Right here. This is what it is. It's Higger. And I think I just typed in weighted airstone on Amazon. I legit think they're like 20 bucks a piece or something. They're not my favorite. They're not the worst. They're just not my favorite. Like, I don't know. So a product that's not my favorite, here's how I justify that. Is if you were in the room with me, I'd be like, yeah, they're all right. But here's what I don't like. I don't like this part. I'm worried that they're going to get clogged up with algae because the disc is white. I'm worried about this part. And then once you add all those facts, then you go, yeah, I don't know if it's worth 20 bucks. But you can make that decision. You know, I feel like they shouldn't be 20 bucks. I'd much rather spend more. I kind of wish they had the rubber membrane instead of the ceramic. Or I don't even, it might be sintered glass. But the rubber membrane would last forever. That's more like a pond solution. But they're typically more expensive. So, you know, it goes hand in hand. It's like, well, having a problem, try becoming a member. Well, it is a shot in the dark on whether I pick up. There's a lot of chat going on. I try to answer both. Could you make the river system like an under gravel system? Maybe. I haven't done a lot of testing with that. So, I mean, Dean kind of runs that system a little bit. Not lengthways, but like front to back ways. So, maybe. It's hard to say how much laminar flow would get going that way. So, all right, where have I left off? Have I done scarlet live bears? Microposilia picta. I found someone local breeding them, and I think they're a really fun breeding product. Yes, I have done those. I've done both what they were calling at the time, red Ferraris. Then they had the yellows also, and then they had a blue one. And they kind of look like, to me, like a subtly red fish with like almost like a downward F, like in the black lines on them. Great fish. I've talked to so many live bear breeders, and collectively we've all really not done well with them. And so that's where I kind of started losing hope. Some were suspecting they only really do thrive in brackish water. I've probably tried them 10 plus times from wholesalers. I don't think I've ever made a baby from them. That's not true. I know I've made like 3. But like, I've never had anything that I would consider success. And I think I had Dean try them and he didn't have success. So I'm not sure. But yes, have I tried them? Yes. Do I think they're amazing? Yes. Am I super jealous if you get them going? Yes. But they kind of fell off my list from, you know, it's only so fun to fail so many times. But I do, you know, if I had a local customer that's cranking these things out and they're coming to the store, you better believe I'd take some home, for sure. Yes. 2 dwarf pufferfish in a 5 gallon, would that be okay? Brian, I would recommend just one. Just because one's gonna usually dominate the other. If it's a pair, you'd be okay, like a male-female pair, but honestly, with one, it'll be easier to keep the water quality up, and I'm not sure that most people really enjoy 2 more than they would 1. Yeah. Oh, it's about time. The only cut snake gave me $2 Australian because I'm cool. Yes. I knew it. This Aquashella hat was going to get me the cool factor. No, I totally asked for an aquashella hat because I liked it. Why does it always look like my head is never... Does it... My hats always look like they're off. I don't know if it's camera angle or my head is just always off. I think it's my head. I got a lumpy melon. Oh no. Would love to go see Malawi cichlids in the wild. Me too, Eric, but I need to learn how to dive first because most of them are very deep down. And that gets into needing cameras that can go down that far. Like, there's quite a bit of work, but I do think it would be very cool. I don't think it would do well on the channel or anything, but I think it's very cool. So, yeah. All right, we made it to the end of the super chats. Let me grab a few, a few out of the chat here. Any tips for breeding CLARO plecos, or maybe know where I can get 1 to 3 more? I would check on the Wet Spot, which is an online fish shipper. That's where I've gotten them a lot of times. For breeding them, it's just a time thing. If you can breed normal bristlenose, you'll breed them. They just take, it's not that they take longer to mature, it's that you get them and they're tiny and young. And then you got to get them like another inch on there, and that takes like 14 months. So, but pretty easy. Oh yeah, there was a question from Twin City. There we go. Any future attempts at mimicking or doing systems I saw in China? I do want to play with some of the overhead sump stuff some more. Inherently, when I go back in November, that typically makes me want to, it influences my design style, if you will. Like, oh, I want to play with this some more. And that's, I think most of the hobby is that way. We want what we don't have. We want to try what we haven't done. And then, for me, I want to go back to what I found to be really fun. So even right now, like, because I'm not really testing any underground filters, I'm like, maybe I should set up some more underground filters. That'd be fun. Like, there's no rhyme or reason to it. Like, I don't need more filtration. I don't need anything other than just like, I gotta have it all. Kevin Zhao is starting a war. New Zealand is better than Aussies. Woo! You're gonna have to battle that out with candy bars. Speaking of which, today's candy, the Werther's Original. If you're like living under a rock and have never had a Werther's Original, you need to have one. They're so good. Not your average candy. It's not a candy bar. But I have to blame Randy for getting me rehooked on these. He had some in the office, and I just casually grab one, and I'm like, oh my god, these are way better than I remember. And so I'm gonna eat one. I know it's gonna kill people, but that's my new thing. I'm gonna eat a piece of candy, and I want it to be where I try crazy candies and you try them too. So we'll figure out how we're gonna do that. But it says good times. Get yourself a Werther's Original. Go, go hang out with your grandma, your parents, someone. If you're younger, go hang out with someone that is older than you and break out the Werther's Originals. You'll have a moment. And you'll go, yes, candy. Candy's good. And they last a long time, and they're relatively cheap, so nothing wrong with that. Let's see here. Ooh, I gotta harass Bob. Bob asked me a question. Bob Steenfod of Steenfod Aquatics, and I said, you gotta super chat me. I'm live. We'll see if he does it. All right. I can't get my bristlenose to eat food. He just loves the driftwood. Will he be okay with eating wood, or what else should I do? Here's what I would do, Justin E. Get yourself some Rapashi bottom scratcher or a community blend, and take that piece of wood out, make your Rapashi food, and then pour it onto that wood. Then put that wood back in. It's going to start on the wood. He's going to go, wait a second, this wood tastes way better. All right, let me eat on that. I think that's the method I would go with. Don't do a crazy big piece. If he doesn't eat it, you got a problem on your hands of a lot of food, right? But I would do that. Werther's Original. It's good times. I need a shirt that says Werther's Original. Ain't nobody not like Werther's Original. If you don't like Werther's Original, I don't know if we can be friends. It's just, I don't know if I've ever met someone that's like, oh, Werther's Original? Terrible. Like, it's just, good baseline candy right there. Did Dean ever get back to you on dosing ICX on Cory eggs? No, he hasn't done that yet. Well, wait. Someone else in the chat said they have, but he hasn't done it yet, I don't believe. So, will I ever do a follow-up to an old fish room tour? Yeah, we've done stuff like Bob's room before and a few others, but stuff's got to change enough for me to go back. How does the fish hobby here in the good old USA compare to Europe? Typically, oh no, Devlin doesn't like Werther's Original. What's wrong with you, Devlin? Are you sure you've had a Werther's Original and not like a knockoff? I just find that hard to believe, man. Maybe we gotta revoke membership. I don't know. I don't know if we can have this. But how does it compare to Europe? What I find in Europe, the average household might have 2 or 3 aquariums. And then here in America, we have like 200 or 300. We have way more. We love to consume. And maybe they on average have 20-gallon aquariums. And here on average, we might have 55 to 75-gallon aquariums. Like we like more, we like bigger. And that's, I think, the main ways. So, and that extrapolates out into 2 or 3 tanks, highly manicured typically. A billion tanks, not as manicured because time. So, all right, Steenfod Aquatics. He's arrived with the super chat. To be 100% clear, I would have answered this question off stream for Bob for free. So let's not. I don't want to make it seem like I wouldn't answer it unless he paid me. Although that being said, what I'm about to tell him, he's going to make money from it. So. Steenfod Aquatics says, according to the API website, their EM medication, erythromycin, is 90% sodium chloride. Do I know of a cheaper alternative rather than paying for salt? So I don't believe you're paying for the salt. You're paying for the med. The reason we add salts to meds is to make it into a dose that's measurable. So we're cutting it down. That being said, we need cheaper erythromycin is what you need, all right? One of the ways that you might be able to pull this off, because you're a business now, you may be able to ask vets if they'll write you a prescription. And you might be able to get very large amounts cheaper. One of the few times, sometimes vet meds are cheaper than what we can get. So you look into that one. But the other one that I can announce, because I've finally done enough arm twisting, I gave him a real bad, burn, is we'll be getting in, and everyone else I'm sure will be getting in too, but Maricin, which is the Fritz, or a Mardell product, right, even though Fritz owns it, they, after harassing them because their jar is like $200 or something crazy, and then it's like one scoop treats like 137 gallons or something stupid, we worked with them to re-engineer it so that they now have a container that will treat 1,000 gallons, and it has a scoop that treats 10 gallons. Where have we heard that one pump or scoop should treat 10 gallons? If there was only a business that did that regularly. I think it started with an A and ends with an oop. A oop? Aquarium? Oh, that's right, Aquarium Co-op. Yes, so now I'm beating them down on price because that's the next step. Like, oh, we've made this great product. And my hope is that, well, it's not my hope. The whole reason was to bring it down into a more manageable package because I think their original package treated like 4,000 gallons or something crazy. Like the average hobbyist, that's a lifetime supply for you and all of your neighbors, right? But a lot of the products they were making were for like zoos and stuff where they needed very high dosages. So we've gotten it down to 1,000 gallons at a time, and the price point should be coming down. That being said, I don't know how cheap it's going to get yet. if I have my way with it, it should be cheaper than competitors. Not just for me, I'm just saying competing products. But you still might be able to do better with a vet. I don't know. I haven't been down that road. I've talked to some vets. But yes, I would. Those are the two ways in which I think you could maybe save some money on erythromycin. And, you know, slow roll it until we see what we can come up with the Maricin one. I don't know. What are they going to call that? Because it's not like a 1 pound container or anything. You just call it Maricin bulk. But they already have a bigger bulk. So I don't know what this is called yet. We'll see. All right. Dave G. I recently acquired a 336-gallon acrylic tank. I'm pretty sure 1 scoop of the original Maricin treats that. I would like to do a community tank of something different. Any suggestions? So, for me, I'm the same type of thinker. What actually I think is different is keeping schools in very big numbers. And I'm going to sneeze here, so I'm going to try not to break the camera with a Werther's Original flying out of my mouth while I sneeze. But look into what if I kept 120 corridoras? No one does that. Ends up looking very, very cool. Same with big groups of tetras and that kind of stuff. So you could do bigger fish, but a lot of people kind of do that. What I find a lot of people don't do is very large groups of smaller fish in these bigger tanks. And I really do enjoy that, to see whoa, look at the corridors go. So I would explore that, find some real key fish you've liked keeping in the past, and then incorporate that in ridiculous numbers. Let's see here. Oh, I skipped some. How does the fish hog... Oh, no, I got that one. Phew. What are some aquatic plants from Mexico? I don't know if I know. My brain is searching the platy database of okay, when I've been looking at platies, wild pictures, what kind of vegetation am I seeing? Come on, brain, work. I don't know. I mean, there's Mexican oak leaf, which is an aquatic plant, but I'm just assuming that comes from Mexico. I don't know. I honestly don't know of good biotope Mexican plants. I don't think I've really seen many Goodyead biotopes either, because that would have Mexican plants as well. All right, we've got Tropical Gems in the house. And Logan Ross. Please talk about your feeder manufacture process. I don't know specifically what you want to do, but I'll cover some of it, I guess. Mostly, there's a whole big portion of time that gets spent trying to find what it is you want to improve about something. And that's really difficult because until you see it, you don't know it can be done sometimes. So you end up buying, the first step is buy every feeder you can get your hands on. So spend a bunch of money. Then try to figure out which ones even work. Read the manuals and go, oh, this is a thing, huh? All right. Yep, I don't think that matters. Or, oh, that's a good idea. The feeder sucks itself, but this might be a good idea. And then I try to culminate those ideas into what I want to do. And so a lot of people try to develop a product that this one product will target everyone and do well for everyone. And I don't think that's a very good strategy because typically we're all different. And so with the easy feeder, so knowing that we typically brand towards easy, we need it to be very easy to program. We need it to be very easy to understand. We need it to be very easy to refill. We need everything about it to be easy. Anything that's not easy is a problem. So some of it is people go, why isn't it in black? We had this conversation, and we may in the future make them in black. But one of the biggest use cases for a feeder is when you're out of town, right? We can agree on that. Now, when you're out of town and something's going wrong and you're on the phone, look at this prop I have right here. Perfect. And you hear that like, oh, the black thing looks like it's not working right. Is that your Aquatop air pump? Is that your Marineland hang-on back filter? Is that your Fluval light that's also a black casing? Is that, right? Where if you make it green, one, it aligns with our colors, which is good. Two, oh, the green thing doesn't look like it's working. Oh, there's only one green thing. Oh yeah, that's my automatic feeder, right? And then you get to say, grab one of the yellow pins instead of like, okay, do you see the black thing on there? Like, it's black. No. And like it allows you to troubleshoot. And that's one of the things I thought was very important because I'm trying to solve people losing fish while going on vacation, being afraid to go on vacation, and all of these things. Now, is this green ugly in some homes? Definitely. But it also helps in those situations, and grow a pothos around it or something. Like put something in front of it, put it towards the back of your aquarium. Like there's a million ways to disguise, put something over it, right? Like there's a million ways. And it's not made for someone who's got an ADA rimless tank and it's perfect in every way. It works just fine when you're on vacation, but if you're gonna feed every day, maybe that's not the best fit, right? So it's impossible to make a product that will work well for everyone. So we try and focus on who do we want to help, and then let's make the product as best as possible for that person. And that person was someone going on vacation, someone new to the hobby, someone using a ton of them in their fish room, me. And so that's why it's got multiple mounts. That's why it's really easy to kind of set the time, put the pin in. You can put multiple pins in, you could take pins out, and it's just designed to be used how I want to use it. And it's been working really well for me. And so that's the manufacturer. Well, so then you kind of know what you want to do. Then you get test samples in, right? And you work with those, and hopefully they work right. If they don't, you ask for fixes and work on it some more. You make decisions on, will we include a battery? Won't we include a battery? Should we have it say this? Shouldn't we have this? Then once you get through that process, then you start going over the instruction manual and the packaging on the outside to go, okay, because you needed a prototype. Like one of the hardest things is we needed to print boxes, right? So you got to, do I have it? Yeah. So if you look at this box, you can see it's got the Easy Green feeder on there with the logos and all that, right? Well, Jimmy couldn't design this box or finish designing it till he had one of these actually made. Then he could get it, take pictures of it, and now we can put it on the box, and then we can have the boxes printed, and then we can get them shipped to us. So that's why a lot of times, like, a product that launches with us might come in a white box. Look at this white box right here. Because we would have had to delay for at least another month getting the sponge filters in so that Jimmy could get them, take pictures of them, design a box. You could see, like, you know, it wouldn't be that crazy to adapt this style of box to this, but we needed the product. So the next run of sponge filters will come with a designed box. So that's kind of the manufacturing process. And then if we make mistakes or we find something wrong, we need to change that as well. So for right now, no changes. Well, the only change we're going to be made is not include the crappy Chinese battery. I thought we already vetoed that, but we ended up paying for the battery and that stuff anyway. And we asked about better batteries. The price is going to go up, and I don't think that's a good use. I don't want to raise the price. So we're just thinking, okay, don't include a battery. And then we'll tell people, like, go get a Costco battery or whatever, and it's going to run for a super long time. Because the samples I got didn't even have batteries. So that's why I didn't think they were coming with batteries. All right. What's my thoughts on general cure for all quarantine fish when they come in? Yes. Whoa. 100% yes. If I was only going to use one med, that's the med I would use, is the internal tapeworm, deworm them. For sure, because even really healthy fish usually carry worms. So I would definitely do that. tropical gems. Jody's got some Thai microcrabs. Will CPOs be okay with them? The person asked is Chris Lukup, and I don't know. I know they'll prey on shrimp, small shrimps, if they get hungry enough. They might do the same to a microcrab. I have a feeling it would probably work okay if you're like feeding it well, there's lots of cover. But honestly, because I'm not allowed to have CPOs, so I have very limited experience. All crayfish are illegal here. All right, Lanky Adventures. I've got a 125 Planet White Cloud minnow tank, 50 of them. Any ideas on bottom dwellers that won't maybe eat their eggs heavily? I would go with, I think autosynclus could work. Now this is not going to be biotope. So autosynclus, shrimp, cherry shrimp, I definitely have been able to raise. Like they'll eat some for sure. The other thing you can do is put a lot of rocks down low and then make sure that fish can't get in, and then you can raise up like maybe corridoras. Like if they can't get down in there, that might work. Or things like reticulated hillstream loaches. But shrimp are the ones that I would go with, and then yeah, I would just do shrimp. I know I've raised them together before. That's why and they look good too. So get some red cherry shrimp, you'll enjoy it. All right. Do I have a bucket list of plants that I want to create time to try and grow? Ooh, plant-wise. I want to redo. I've already done it, so again, like I want to do it again. But freshwater mangroves are really fun, so I want to play with that some more. I'm trying to think if there's any plants that I'm really after. I've gotten most of them, so I'm not sure that there is. I mean, I'm more apt to say like, oh, I really want to play with more saltwater macroalgae, which I realize aren't plants, but I'm intrigued by that. So, how do I find my manufacturer? I flew to China. So if you're looking for products to be manufactured, go to CIPS, which is the Chinese International Pet Show. You have to apply for a visa. Then you have to apply for a ticket to get in. And then you fly there, which will cost you $600 to $800, depending on where you're coming from. And that's for it's like a coach ticket. And then stay in a hotel, which is fairly expensive. And that's all. And then you walk the grounds, figure out what you're going to do, and then you go, I will take $20,000 worth of those feeders, please. And a lot of what you don't think about is, like, the first prototype for a feeder, that might be like, oh yeah, it's $700. And you're like, for one? And you're like, well, we have to make the molds. We have to do this. We have to do that. Like, it can get very expensive to get the first prototype made. And then you're like, I need to tweak this. They're like, okay, that's another mold change. That's another $100. And so then you get to the point where now you're actually making the units, and they might only cost half what you're going to sell them for. But it can be very expensive to start something like that, especially when it's like, oh, I want these custom things done. Usually you can roll up and be like, oh, you make lots of feeders. Ooh, okay, like I could basically just take this one, but could we do a tweak? And then it costs money. Can I do a special order to Australia for the feeders and the sponge filters? I can find anything like them. And how do I get my Frentozon pellets? For pellets, soak them in bloodworm juice. I'm assuming they're eating bloodworms. And then after doing that, feed them the pellets. And after a while, they usually start taking them. As far as special ordering, we don't do any special ordering. It's unmanageable for us. The customs, the laws, all that stuff, it gets unmanageable. And so we are launching into other markets, and when we launch your market, great. But until then, there is so much stuff in between those two that we're not willing to do it. Like, shipping's very expensive. I get it. You're willing to pay it. Manpower becomes very expensive when you're looking up item codes for different countries based on what we're sending, right? And then there's, you know, maybe VAT taxes and tariffs and just that kind of stuff to start figuring out. And who's going to pay it? What way can we ship it? And do we have to schedule that pickup, etc.? And it gets very difficult. So we choose to not do it, unfortunately for you, obviously. And yeah, that's the way it goes, unfortunately. We'll as soon as we can, we'll launch to more people, honestly. How many times can I say honestly? Honestly. John Roberts, welcome to the team. And Kevin Bray, welcome. How many members are we even close to being to where we were? Let's see. We're 4 away from getting back to where we were last time we ended. So we're still at -4, T-minus -4. All right, let me dive into my list because I've got more stuff on my list I want to talk about. All right, so some of the stuff that I need to talk about would be, don't forget that we are on other platforms. We have a Facebook page where we post, you know, mostly announcements and that kind of stuff. Someday we'll utilize it more, but there's, you know, 360,000 people hanging out there too. And so you can kind of, if YouTube's not updating you and notifying you enough, that's another good source. And then Instagram. And then we also do have a group on Facebook, the Aquarium group support. If your questions aren't getting answered here, think of it like this chat room, except in Facebook group form. No riffraffs allowed. We ban people left and right. You know, just handing out karate chops. Nothing out of the ordinary allowed. And we're there for a Q&A format. You have a problem, we try to give an answer. That's what we're there to do. And it works out pretty well. I think we're 15 or 16,000 people strong there. And it's fairly active too. It's not like a ghost town like a lot of Facebook groups. So, All right. Next question. What would my ideal fish room look like if money and space was of no object? Yes. I think this ties in with kind of what are my future plans when I retire. I really like the idea of farming fish, not for profit or anything, just for like because I want to. And maybe it's a big greenhouse or at least lots of windows in a building because I want to see a lot of sunlight and algae. I want algae everywhere because that's one of the best things you can have for breeding fish. And how big would I go? I guess in a perfect world, I would have hundreds of these little totes that I'm setting up now with auto feeders, the robot that's hanging from the fish farm we saw. I would have valves to change water, or no, I just have overflows to change water, honestly. And I would want it to be like completely automatable with 4 billion different types of live bears in there. And 3 times a week, I just go out and I just look at all the cool stuff that I'm making because I set up the environment. Let's try a new breeding trap. Let's try a new thing over here. And I want to be able to get lost in there. But then I also want to be able to walk away from it anytime. Be like, oh, I had stuff to do. Now I'm back 11 days later and everything's still thriving. I do know that in my, well, maybe not my retirement, but some point down the road, I really want to develop a auto-dosing system for like live brine shrimp. I've got a lot of good ideas. I've tried it a few times in the past at the store. I got close, and I know if I spent some more time, I could actually figure it out, and I would love to get that or a live Daphnia auto-feeding system going on a massive scale. I think that would be very cool and enjoyable for me. And the reality is, I love playing with all the, you know, the Cyclops, seed shrimp, scuds, Daphnia, brine shrimp, because I know if I can master those things, the breeding of the fish and all that's kind of easy, and the raising the fry is kind of easy, and really being robust in that area makes that even easier. So, and it's something I haven't really like run the end of the rainbow on. All right. Your retirement dream sounds like what I want to do when I'm older, although not with live bears. Yeah, and that's the great thing is, you know, everyone can kind of keep a fish they want to. And I would imagine that there's 4 billion live bears, and then like 8 years later, it's like, no, I'm all African cichlids. I burned out of live bears or shrimp or whatever, right? It's the ability, you know, with that many tanks, honestly, I probably keep everything. I used to do that quite a bit. Like, here's all my favorite live bears. Here's these Africans I like. Here's, you know, this fish. Here's clown loaches. Yeah, you end up just keeping it all. So, welcome, Dilamos. Welcome. 3 more. You're right. You're right, buddy. Thanks for coming, the snail. Green-sided darters look good. Yes, darters from like the United States look amazing too. Honestly, I think so. What time is it? 6:10. All right, we got time. Woo! Good. I was worried that we were. I felt like I was running long. So. Corey shares the same problem as me for getting rainbow shiners, and that is that here in Washington they're kind of hard to come by. Yes, I've imported them a couple of times. They were crazy expensive though. They're a fish that you almost never see in a pet store, and I don't know why. They seem like such a great fish. Is my Daphnia still going? Nope. All my Daphnia got murdered by rice fish. As I downsized my ponds, rice fish are going nuts right now. I still need to bring more indoors, but it's easy enough. They'll come back. Well, they won't come back probably, but I'll buy some more Daphnia and I'll get them going outside. I really want a lot of Daphnia ponds. This summer we were supposed to build, if you guys remember, we were supposed to line the entire studio, the outside, for these ponds for all Daphnia and all the stuff I want to do. Turns out we built a 10,000 square foot warehouse. So that's the way my life goes, of like, I would love to do a thing, have to do this thing, and that thing's not nearly as fun as, you know, building all the pod cultures I can imagine. So let's see here. Oh man, looks like my trainer is in the chat even, and he says, "Can you tell me more about the duckweed in the wife's tank right now?" Oh man, and I have to do ropes when I get back from aquatic experience. So part of it is we train for Peru, and now I just get tortured when I get back from these events of like, oh, take 4 days off, will ya? Well, we got to make up for lost time. And he's not torturing me, but there is quite a bit of duckweed in the wife's tank, and there's actually a lot of algae in there right now. We need to make changes in there, and we keep traveling. And so Katie might say, oh, let's go get this for the tank. And I go, well, it's not exactly a great idea to make that change 2 days before we fly out. And then she's like, oh, good point. And then we got back, and we had 10 days, and we were going to do something. And then she got really sick. She got this, you know, a different crud than I had, but a crud nonetheless. And it's like, I don't want to do it without her. So then maybe when we get back from aquatic experience, it might make sense to, you know, redo the tank. I really want to do it because the algae's looking dumb, and Ladybird's doing amazing though. But Ladybirds need some friends, as my wife puts it, and that's true. She does need some friends, and got to plan it up and do a bunch of other stuff in there. So it's on the radar of get it done, but yeah, we haven't gotten it done yet. I'm sorry. New member from Rachel Watt. Welcome. T-2. Speaking of outdoor tubs, do I think Bristlenose can live out there? I live in Northern California, 40 minutes away from San Francisco. I don't know what your nighttime temps get to, but it's got to be above about 65. Much lower than that, the Bristlenose start falling apart. So if water temp gets below that, you're going to run into some troubles. But they would be a great fish to do outside if that's not a problem. What budget air pump would I recommend to run 6 to 10-gallon aquarium sponge filters? Does Petco still make that 4-port pump that's pretty cheap? Let me see. Air pump. Load faster, you slow website. Oh, and it has bad search. Okay. don't think... Oh, wait, maybe? Is it the Imagitarium pump? Do they come in a 4-pack? Basically, I would get like a cheaper air pump that's got 4 outlets and then do a few splits off that. And usually you'll get a year or 2 out of that pump. And it's not going to last forever. But by then, you'll either be more addicted and have more aquariums, or you'll be burnt out and want to downsize. Rarely is it like, no, I love having exactly this many aquariums. So that's the route I would go is, you know, pick it up. It's like 25 bucks, and that'll get you pretty far for a while. So, yeah. All right. Will we ever get an aquarium co-op air pump? We are on the lookout for them when we go to China. One of them, so I know I met with the company last year. The pump I'm running on the 800 gallon right now is from them, but longevity is what I want to test. So that's one of the things, like a lot of times when I'm not talking about equipment, almost assume I'm testing it. Like, because I don't want to like tip off a competitor and be like, by the way, did you know Werther's Original makes the best air pump? Please go launch that before I'm done testing it. You know, I don't want that to happen either. I don't want all my hard work to go out the window to a competitor. So, but in general, yes, we're always testing stuff. I'm always on the lookout of like, yes, I do want, you know, think logically. If we have sponge filters, the next logical thing we want is an aquarium co-op air pump. And then if we have all of that in line, maybe the next thing is an aquarium co-op light, or, you know, I don't know what comes next, but slow and steady, make good products and keep them good, and move on to the next thing that's logical. That's the goal. Caleb Holt, welcome. T-1. We're almost back to where we were. Woo! Can I talk about cycling a plant in an aquarium with fertilizer? I'll talk a little bit briefly, but I have a whole video on cycling planted tanks. So watch that after this. But basically, when you put plants into your aquarium, they're going to bring some of the bacteria in already. That's a win. 2, if your plants are growing really well from fertilizer, they're also going to uptake the waste that fish would make. So if you can get good growth going, once you put fish in, they're going to go to the bathroom. Plants are going to eat it, right? Now, barring extremes of I have one plant this big and I put 7 Oscars this big in there, the ratio works out. Would I ever consider selling packaged live food like the store in Germany? Yes, if the infrastructure was here. So in Germany, they would just show up. If stuff was dead, take it out and replace it with new, right? And that all happened from the vendor, not so much us. Like, we didn't have to have a big culture and then bag it up. It just came that way. And there's tons of vendors. When you go to Interzoo in Germany, there's tons of vendors that do this in Europe. That's all they do is, like, we make all these live foods, and we package them, and we show up, and you put them in your fridge that would be at the store. And so, yes, if someone was doing that here, I'm all about it. I think it would be really, really good. Unfortunately, no one has taken on that task. And part of what we got to remember is Germany is tiny compared to the United States, right? But I feel like someone could be like, oh, I'm just going to do California, Oregon, and Washington. And that could be like a start. That's enough for a lot of business. So someone will probably go, you know what? That is a great idea. Let me do that in America. Hopefully. But yes, if they do it, I'd do it. I've seen a lot of stuff come and go, like live mysis shrimp was a thing. Lots of fairy shrimp were a thing. A lot of they come and go, but not from a Aquaria standpoint. It's like, I found a thing and now I'm killing it. So, yeah. Let's see here. Was that the Zis Artemia blender that Dean showed the other day? Yes. Would I consider carrying it if it tests well? Yes. So we are testing it. We've already found. So I found it in China last year. I expressed interest in it last year. They never let me test it. They went to market with it. We have some. We're testing it. And we definitely see changes we want to make. Like, we are not using it stock like the way it's meant to be used. So when we finish playing with it and seeing the ways we think it could be made better, the ways it might break and all that, we'll go back to this and go, hey, could we make these changes? And then if they're like, yes, for sure we're on board. If they say, oh, heck no, then we go, huh. Well, do we just sell it anyway and just tell people that these are the mods you're going to have to make and we wish they did better? We'll see. It depends on how many glaring issues come up and go. But yes, we are testing it, you know? Yep. Test, test, test. That's all we can do. And even if we decide we hate that one, we have that much more knowledge for the next one we test. What did we hate about that? Ooh, I can see this thing's going to have the same problem. We don't like that. Moving on. Caleb says, could we make a video together sometime? Yes, I spoke with the Aquatic Experience. We could have done it there. I will say yes. That could happen. That being said, I'm a very busy individual. So I'm not saying no, but we might have to plan 4 months from today on the calendar, we're going to do this type of deal. How close am I to shipping Easy Green to Canada? What was the latest update? Spoke with Randy today. Oh, we signed official You'd be surprised how many official pieces of paperwork you got to sign. I think we signed the last thing to open up an international UPS account that includes tariffs, VAT taxes, and all of that crazy import fees. Which it just every time is like, oh, here's more forms, here's more forms, here's more forms, here's more forms. In theory, we've signed the last ones now. So if that's true, we're waiting, I think it's like 4 more days. They have to has to go through a review process. Then we'll have an official here's the account. You can now move the Easy Green to Canada. But right now, it's just kind of sitting there with no legal way to get the fertilizer to cross the border. So it's got to go through all these little chains. So we're close. You know, we're way closer than we've ever been. And barring something we don't see, should be soon. We're hoping, my hope is that it'll be on Amazon in the next month. Could lag a little bit there. It takes time to move them around the warehouses in Amazon's infrastructure and get item descriptions actually uploaded and things like that, but fairly close. What would I do different in the 800 gallon if I ordered today? I would make it half as tall. Maybe not half, because it's only 40 inches. It wouldn't be taller than about 24 inches. The tallness is just not my favorite thing. Makes it really hard to work on, so yeah. Looks like someone found it. The Top Fin Air 8000. It's got 4 ports for $29.99 at PetSmart. Okay. And yeah, they long term, 4 years ago, they were having some problems with longevity on those pumps. So they might have worked it out, but I think part of it is we were pushing them pretty hard, running maybe 16 tanks off of 4 airline outlets. And yeah. Whip World says you should get together with Greg Whitstock from Aquascape in Chicago and develop an auto dose. They're small enough to use in a fish tank. No, that'll just never happen. I'm not a fan of his work or the way he treats the industry. That's why I never let him, I never worked with him to build a pond at my place, even though one's been offered for free. He approached me there, wanted me to sell all his products. I'm not interested. Even when I said I'm not interested in moving into pond supplies, he reassured me that it's a $50 billion industry and I should be getting into it if I was smart. Okay? So he already, personality-wise, we don't agree. I don't agree with things I've heard him say in videos like, to have a good koi pond, the more rocks you have, the cleaner the water is. That literally is the opposite of what would keep clean water in a koi pond. There's the whole bringing invasive turtles into other states that shouldn't be going on and that kind of stuff. In general, me and him are about polar opposites. Now, a dosing product? Yes. Have we already been testing dosing, auto dosers with Wi-Fi control and all that? Yes, we already have that going on in the lab. Did we source those last time we were in China? Yes. Are we circling back to it while we're in China again? Yes. So a lot of these things, we're working to make sure they are the spec we want, and I have very high standards where a lot of people will go, oh, we'll put that out into the world and see how it goes. Some of it, like the autodoser we want, there's currently contracts in the way of preventing us from being able to do it. So I can't name the company, but there's a company that basically made a contract, and the company that makes the autodoser that we really like cannot sell it to anyone else in the US. And currently the one that's being done in the US is highly priced because they have a monopoly going and no competition. So if we can find another manufacturer that is of high quality, we then can bring them in, and we should be able to bring them at a much lower price point. And I want the one doser model working by Wi-Fi with a great app integration. And I've seen it, and we just gotta find how to get around the contract law, which most countries don't have that contract law. In the United States we have it, so yeah. But no, good suggestion, Whip World. You are on the same thinking we are. What makes Easy Green even easier? If it was hooked up to an autodoser and autodosed your aquarium every day just a little bit. I fully recognize that is easier. We've been testing. Do I have it laying on the... I have... Oh, here, let me do my Corey's not full of crap thing. I should have one like laying on the floor over here because I remember knocking it off. Let's see if it's still there. I might have picked it up though. Oh no. So I'm just going to look like I'm full of it now because I don't see it. It sat there for like 4 months watching it dose. The problem with that one specifically was their app was buggy and they weren't willing to change it from liters to gallons and that kind of stuff. So maybe we ordered multiple, and Randy's been testing one as well. Did I move it? I might have installed it to test. I'll have to find out where I put it, or I can at least show you guys. It's just a little kind of white box with one head on it, and it originally was designed to do I might have the app on my phone. It was originally designed to water plants, like outside plants, you know, like that might be on your deck or something like that. And so the software would have to be re-engineered and changed from, you know, liters to gallons, and it wanted to put like, you know, it'd say like, oh, let's put a liter, no, maybe half a liter of water in plant 9 type of deal. Do I have the app? All right, I don't think I do anymore. But no, we are thinking about that, and we wanted to launch the first time right, where it comes out and it's like, yep, that's another home run, instead of like, well, I love it, but this type of deal. So, Janice Lundberg, ooh, did you bring us to par? Let's see. No, we're still one short. How did we get one short? Are we off, or I don't know. Maybe someone quit while this was going. We're one off. Anyway, any plans on a plant light or a python? I just recently got accepted to the Aquarium Co-op group support, and I have to say, what a great resource. Well, thank you, Will. So we haven't put much thought into the python. We're considering it's a very hard to ship product, kind of heavy, awkward sized. So I have some samples of some stuff we like in our warehouse at the moment. The plant, yes, we have gotten plant light samples, but nothing has hit the price point I want to be at the quality I want to be at, which I hold those at very high standards of, we need to bring the price points down, and we need to bring the Fluval level of waterproofness and everything together. So we can make very cheap lights, but I want them to be able to have a long warranty and be waterproof like that. And without that, that's where I feel like we're really missing. But there's some other people that I'm talking about working with designing one, and so that we'll both work on designing it and then work with that manufacturer. And they're in a different country, so it's not like I'll be competing with them, but we can pool our testing and our resources together on that testing to make hopefully a better light. And we've got some prototypes that are really kind of fun and cool in the studio, but we want to make sure we get it right. That's the thing, is like something with a light, you're investing so much money. We're talking a couple $100,000 probably, and then to miss on that, that's enough to be like, wow, we put a real hurting on Aquarium Co-op, and we don't want to be digging out of a hole for the next 5 years because of a wrong decision. So that's going to be a very slow to move thing if we ever do it. And my goal, I really hope that lighting just continually gets better and that it gets cheaper, it gets more waterproof. Because I don't think we need more light. I think we need more waterproofness and we need cheaper pricing. If that happens enough, there'll be no room in the market for us to enter the market, which is good. That means we got a great light that everyone's selling and enjoying. So part of it is, yeah, I think if we wait a little bit, we'll get there. Ooh, let me hit the refresh button and see if Ruben did it. Ruben did it. Ruben Robello got us back to par. We are now where we were last week. So what happened 7 days ago? Let's see. Right? Yeah, it was after the first. So I don't know if they charge at the end of the month or what they do, but I'm glad to be back where we were, and I'm glad all you guys are participating. So, underwear made out of fishnets? That sounds not good. Yeah. Plexi versus glass. I understand the scratching, but has anyone ever had a glass tank that came apart at the seams? Yes. That's what flooded my entire store and cost me $15,000. Literally blew apart. Not just, I mean, plenty of tanks have leaked. Like, oh, it splits, some water's coming out. Tons of that in a fish store. But yes, catastrophic failure, yes. I've never seen an acrylic tank have a catastrophic failure in any fish store or home aquarium. I have seen them separate seams with really bad acrylic work, but yeah. Python, the tubing is what makes it special. Yes. So the nuances are very important to me with any product. Like, I know the tubing with a Python is better than the Lees. The other upgrades that I would want to see made if I was designing a product is, let's include the metal adapter for the sink adapter instead of, and make the plastic part you screw on, you can make that out of metal too. So it's a metal to metal connection, because that's the part that wears. That little part snaps, breaks off. So metal to metal connection there. Maybe include an extra hose adapter, the next most common one as well. And there's not a whole lot to do really. Like, well, it's tubing and you know, adapters. So there's not a whole lot of innovation to go on there. But yes, I do believe making it a little bit more premium quality wise. So why can't I talk? Serpa Design is who I found. Show me digging my own pond. Yes, Serpa Design. I got to meet him at Aquatic Experience. Super chill guy. Wish I had more time to actually talk with him. It was kind of one of those like, oh man, cool. And then we were like a little bit busy and we're like, we'll talk later. And then it was 3 days later and I was back in Washington like, wait a second, we never talked again. So hopefully I'll get a little more time. I don't know if it'll be at Aquatic Experience, but at some event I'll get some more time with that guy. What I like about him is he's true, I guess, terrarium nerd. Just like true fish nerd. Like, yeah, we all want to get big on YouTube and we all want sponsors and we want all that, but that guy is actually doing it because he's a terrarium nerd. Which is, I love that. I love when you're like, nah, I love my thing. I do. It's always respectable to me. Fierce Wolf, welcome on. You are now +1, my friend. Let's see here. Quick release for the Python? Yeah, possibly. Me personally, I've always had some troubles with quick release. Like, they always get a little bit leaky. So I wonder how they would hold up if you use the valve at the end. But definitely a lot of testing to go on there. Some other things that like Dean and I have flirted with would be let's include the refill attachment like the Python hook. Let's include an onboard thermometer. Let's maybe include an onboard gallons per hour counter. You know, stuff that we kind of hot rod and add on to ours. We're thinking like, could we get a manufacturer to do it? The problem is usually you'll have like a tubing manufacturer and a plastic parts manufacturer, and they're also not an electronics manufacturer. So you get these, you got to get multiple manufacturers all working in on this process to make one product, and there's a final assembly somewhere. And so it's just a lot more work to actually make. So okay, aquarium gravel vac tube with a built-in screen so you don't suck up fry or small fish. Yeah, like the lees, you can buy lees with that, and people hate it. So we never bring those in. Like they always get cut off. So get wider inner diameter tubing. Depends. You're gonna drain water a lot faster, and so a lot of people will run out of water before they finish gravel vacuuming. It's a catch-22 there of like, make that hose bigger, and all of a sudden, like doing a 10 gallon is nearly impossible because after, you know, one little row, you're out of water. It starts moving faster than we react. So, bottom feeders with pea puffers and a 20 long. I recommend just pea puffers. You never know what they're actually going to get along with. Ideal footprint for anableps. You know, I feel like a 6 foot by 2 foot front to back tank is about the minimum I would do. I'm trying to think of it like as a 180. I don't know if they make much smaller than a 180 outside of custom tanks. So, yeah. I can't think of any. Oh, well, no. I still can't think of any. Yeah. So plexi for state of mind then? Just don't like the scratches with cichlids. I mean, yeah, peace of mind. Also, you're buying a tank that won't fail for like 100 years. So if you know you're going to keep an aquarium in that spot for a very long time, like an 800 gallons, like something you don't really sell, so it's going to be in my life forever. I don't want, 11 years from now, to be like, oh, it's leaking now. Or in my case, it's a peace of mind thing, but if I put animals in here that get so big they have to have an 800 gallon aquarium, when it fails, what am I going to do then? I got to set up like a temporary pond inside and then buy a new aquarium or try and reseal it. So peace of mind, but also I think it's a safety for the animal as well when you can basically stack the odds for failure being like, it's less than 1%. A new member from Kimberly says, welcome. That's right, she says welcome. Ricardo, I've got a 20-gallon planted tank. I want 9 pandacories, and I want some guppies. How many would I recommend? I've got Val, Bacopa, Java Ferns, Nano Sponge Filter, Aqua Clear, and thanks for your passion. So 9 panda guppies, that's fine. For guppies, I would do like 2 trios, so like 2 boys and 4 girls, and then let them populate. That's what I would do. And you might find that number's 18. You might find that number's 12. You might find that number's 0 because you killed them. It might be way more because you really are in love with them. You're doing water changes all the time now. But 6, that's a good number to see a lot of activity in that water column and start seeing some of the babies, which I think are some of the best aspects of guppies. Training an Amazon puffer to eat snails. Make sure its teeth are already filed down a lot so they can open up wide enough. Other than that is kind of letting them just crawl around the aquarium and not feed the snails. Eventually, they should go after them. Just like, oh, I'm real hungry. Chomp. Yeah. If I have a tank that I want to lower the pH in, the water I'm using is very soft and has a high pH. Should I be lowering the pH before I add it to the tank to keep it more stable? Should I be lowering the pH before? Yeah, I think if you're gonna mess around with water parameters, it's best to let's mix this in a 5-gallon bucket, test it. All right, I didn't accidentally double dose on, what is it like? What kind of acid drops? There's an acid that will drop the pH. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah. It seems safer to me. Charles says, thank you for all your help. Just got my first tank a week ago. Woo! Woo! Excellent teacher and definitely appreciate your videos. Well, welcome, Charles. What I want to say to you is, you're in for a tough road. You're gonna make mistakes. But look past that. In 3 months, when you are a wizard of nature, you're gonna feel on top of the world. So just know that part of the bad breaks of sick fish and failing and oops, my filter sucked up a fish because I was a dummy are all part of the learning experience, so that you become a master of it and go, oh, well, that won't happen again. I'll make sure that doesn't happen again. We've all been through these weird stories. You know, maybe it's not the exact same story, but like, oh, my fish got stuck in a castle. Now I know. Oh, my fish got sucked up in a pump. Now I know. Oh, I was cleaning my tank and I got sucked into the gravel vac. Now I know. We've all been through there, and I think just know that it gets a lot better. Not that you're going to enjoy it a lot at the beginning too, and there's going to be this middle period where things aren't going so right. Know that that really good period comes back. You got to kind of step back and go, wait, why would everyone be doing this if it sucked? It doesn't. It gets really good again. So, you know, stay the course. Is there any chance I can get my hands on the green co-op mug? I just have to dig in my email forever and a day to figure out where we were ordering those from. I can't find where we used to order them. So I thought about bringing them back. We don't make any money on them, but it's been a long time since we had them. And I know some people want some. So it's kind of like, we'll sell some, and then maybe we'll let them go away again for a while. pH down is just diluted sulfuric acid. Yeah, maybe that's the acid I'm trying to think of. I don't know. The snails are taking over. Any ideas? Are the snails too big for them to eat? It's hard to say. Joel is making me laugh. Updating my LinkedIn description with Wizard of Nature. Yes, Wizard of Nature it is. A good one. Dragon gobies. Dragon gobies, safe to keep with an ornate bichir. Dragon gobies. They're a brackish water fish. Technically, yes, you can. Ornate bichirs can take a little bit of salinity to it, but yeah, they're not going to swallow each other. But really, they should be in different climates or environments. How long did it take to get crinum that big? That crinum we've had for a very long time now. It's kind of died back a couple of times since we've been moving. It used to be in Murphy's tank. A crinum that big takes, in my opinion, 8 to 12 months. It's really got to get the roots set in. That's what takes the longest, is building out the big root structure. Once it can really tap into that substrate and start feeding, it'll grow like a weed. But that, you know, really it stays pretty small and is using all of its energy just to keep making more big roots. And once that is set, then it gets a lot better. Realized I missed a super chat from Rochelle. Headed to Seattle for anniversary on 11/1. Gonna visit the co-op that weekend. Will I be in town? I will be in town, so there is a chance that you can spot the Sasquatch, aka me. But I never agree to meet people there because that's unfair, and we get emails all the time about that. So if you spot me, great. I will chat it up, and it'll be awesome. If you don't, I'm sorry, and I was engaged in some other activity, like, oh, I was working on the website or something like that. But I honestly never know where I'm going to be every day. Like, I didn't know I was going to spend hours at the warehouse today. I had meant to just pick up the Murphy pins to pack tonight. When this live stream ends, I'm basically going to eat a little bit of food and start packing. And, yeah. All right. Wizard of Nature. Emily says, Emmy, I can't get my pea puppers to eat anything but bloodworms. A lot of times they only want to eat frozen foods. Try brine shrimp, that kind of stuff. Try soaking, like maybe take a cube of bloodworms and soak it with something else and then feed the other thing and see if the juice changes the flavor and gets them to start eating it. But that's the challenge with pea puffers, is they only want frozen foods typically. Yeah. Why can't we get Easy Green in the 500 milliliter? So my question is, why would you need it in 500 milliliters? That's just the same as 2 bottles currently. If you're implying that you are maybe getting less than you used to, that would be incorrect because we just increased the concentration. So I don't have, well, do I have it? Where is that? Well, kind of. This 16-ounce bottle with Easy Iron, you can't concentrate the iron anymore. So we can't make this bottle smaller, or we would. But this bottle treats 5,000 gallons. The Easy Green bottle treats 2,400 gallons. Now, when it was in this 16-ounce bottle, all we did was take that Easy Green and add more water to it, essentially, so you felt like you were getting more. Once we learned that we could actually downsize it into a smaller bottle and save the environment, less water goes into it, you get the same amount of nutrients, and we changed the pump head from a 2 milliliter pump head to a 1 milliliter pump head. So you cut everything in half, you cut the liquid in half, blah, blah, blah. Now you get the same amount of stuff for less in terms of shipping and all that. So it's kind of like we just reduced the packaging is all we did. So there's no reason to have a 500 milliliter. Now we jump up to the 1 liter, which is 1,000 milliliters, because the 500 doesn't really make sense for anyone anymore. Yeah. So that's how that went down. Also used Nature Wizards. That's why. I know your knowledge, it's big, but what is the latest thing that you've learned in the past year? There's probably something I learned yesterday. What is the latest thing I've learned? What have I learned? I learn stuff all the time. What am I shocked by? What am I like, whoa, I would not have thought that. What am I seeing in my tanks right now? I mean, I find it a little weird that my crebensis have dug a giant cave. Typically, they only want to use a cave with a very small hole, and they're building quite a big cave. That's something that, if they breed, I will have learned that the conventional wisdom of only burrito-style cave with a hole is what they want versus this. What else have I learned? I don't know, but I feel like I learn daily, though. I wonder if I could write that down when I really learn something, like, oh, let me write that down, I'll tell people about it. Yeah, our flight is less than 12 hours away. My wife is telling me. I think we're leaving the house at 3 a.m., so we'll be leaving like 8 hours from when this live stream ends. And so I'm supposed to sleep and pack and do all that. Like, it's gonna be rough, but that's what we gotta do. I don't remember why we booked it so early. I don't know if I thought that Aquatic Experience was 3 days event this year, like it was last year. I don't know, but we've got a whole extra day, so hopefully I can catch up on sleep in the hotel. Recon says, not a fish related, but what do you do when you are stuck in a job that does not allow time to pursue other interests? I mean, you just stockpile fat stacks of cash, right? So, in my opinion, if you're not getting a ton of cash from that job, and you've got no other outside time, you probably need to develop some kind of strategy to get yourself out of there. If you are just like, oh, I'm cranking in money, and you've got no time for anything else, then daydream, basically. And that's kind of what I do, is like, we're making money, it's fine, and I do enjoy fish, but because we do it so often, it's not like my hobby, right? So I daydream about setting up an insane facility when I retire and all that, and like, ooh, could I save money? I gotta pay bills, and I keep forward thinking into what am I gonna do when I get out of this situation? And I know that sounds weird because you guys are like, you're literally talking about the situation you're sitting in right now. Yes, but everything over time becomes boring. Like, if I'm doing a live stream exactly like this 20 years from today, I'm gonna be burnt out of it, right? So, but I can think enough to go, someday I won't do live streams. I don't know when that'll be, but when that day comes, what do I want to do? And I want to be an urban fish farmer. I know that. I know I want my wife to be able to do whatever she wants. I do think about sometimes if I ever was able to get away from this business someday, let her open up a bakery or whatever she wants to do. We daydream about living next to a lake or a river and having, you know, my wife kind of wants to run like a dog rescue or something, so maybe that becomes a thing. But I think it's the, you know, buckling down, saving now. I mean, even right now, it's like I buy cheap shirts I can get on Amazon, right? Like there's just, you know, I do what I can. I milk Aquatic Experience, or I mean, Aquashella for a free hat. By the way, this hat is sponsored. So, you know, I guess I have to mention that since I'm wearing it. They're not paying me to like wear the hat or anything. I like the hat. I just thought it was good. It was green, you know, the green and the coral there. I just like this hat. I legit was like, that hat's awesome. Where do I get one of those? And then they walked me over to like the merch booth and gave me one. So, what is this? This is a Richardson style 112, I'll have you know, made in Vietnam. I really have fallen in love with these mesh backed hats. I'm not a fan of the snapback. I would like a fitted hat, but hey, what are you going to do? But that is my tip there, is to, you know, think about what are you going to do when you get out of this spot, you know. And hopefully you're not there forever. Hopefully it's not like a government job where it's like the pension's so good I could never leave. I've got another 11 years. Like that's a rough spot to be, for real. So, do I have any tips for avoiding burnout for fish? No, I haven't figured out how to avoid burnout. The only tips I can really give you is once you know you're not enjoying a fish, get rid of it. You know, don't let other people tell you, like, you got to keep that. Those are so cool. I like those. You were making money on those. Don't let other people influence what you're doing. If you know, ugh, I got to go clean the clown loach tank again. It always looks dirty. That's a sign where I need to take them to the shop and sell them. And that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to unload them at the shop. And then I'm going to get something in there and be like, oh, these are amazing. And then 2 years later, I'm going to be like, these are so dumb. I'm tired of cleaning these. And you should always make it so the fish are going to someone who's going to love them. And that's the best way you can stave off burnout, you know, prolong it in between those. And when you do burn out, shut a bunch of stuff down. Don't sell it off. Make sure it's at least 6 months before you sell it off. And get away from it. And usually you find yourself, you know, think of it like eating your favorite food. You eat it all the time. Eating it. You know, like these Werther's Originals. Eventually, you're like, I cannot eat any more of that. Ugh. But then, like, 8 months later, you're like, I would kill you for another Werther's Original, right? Because it's the passion for it comes back. And that's, a lot of times we don't want to give up on our breeding projects and all that. So maybe you just pare down to, like, I've been growing these zebra plecos for 14 months. I can't get rid of them, but I could slim down. And I do think that's a valid thing, is burnout a lot of times is because you're spending so much time maintaining and not enough time enjoying. And so I definitely have been to points where I have lots of aquariums and almost no aquariums. And I'm trying to find that right balance somewhere where it's like 12 was too few, 100's too many, maybe the totes plus my tanks is just right. So, yeah. All right. I don't know if I can. We'll see. Oh, right here. Alrighty, Roo. Got some super chats. How much till a sponge filter cycles in an established tank? I believe it takes about 7 days. And I say that's just the time length that I wait. I actually think it only takes about 48 hours. But I wait a week because I don't think we're in a rush. So, yeah. Matthew says, check out my super chat. Is it like way back there or something? I'm scrolling up. So it is. How many rounds can I dose General Cure before it starts affecting my community tank negatively? And are you doing a special live stream for Halloween? Maybe? What day is it on? Yes, I'll be live streaming on Halloween. So my answer would be 1. At one dose, you're negatively affecting the fish. So every dose in addition, you're more negatively affecting the fish. I don't know what the limit is because I've never tried to put my fish through the limit. But you should be doing things to actively curb how many times they have to be subjected to general cure. So maybe 4 or 5 times, I'm not so worried about, like 2 initially. Oh, my fish got it again. Okay, another 2 rounds. But after that, it's like, we gotta be doing some damage to kidneys and that kind of stuff. I realized I missed another one. At what temperature should I bring goldfish in a 40-gallon tub from outside for the winter? Freezes here in New York. I would say when water temps hit, when they basically are hitting 40, that's a good time. You're like, we got to drag them in. So I would drag them in. See, now everyone's assuming I missed their super chats. No, I haven't gotten that far down yet. I did miss some, but there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 technically that I have not even addressed yet, and they are at the bottom of my list. So momentarily, I will get to you. Kate Erickson says, $10 to an honest, hardworking man who is always pushing to improve the hobby and his passion for fish. We need more people like you. Well, thank you. I won't say always, but 98% of my time is spent, how can we make this hobby better? There's 2% where I'm like, I just want to eat tacos. But for the most part, my ulterior motive on every conversation with everyone in the industry is, how do I make them do better? How do I do better? How do we do better? What could we be doing better? I have a very inquisitive set of thinking, so I try to do that. Would I add angelfish to a community tank that's 36 gallons with 5 corridoras, 5 tetras, a goldfish, and a betta? I'm also thinking about buying some neon tetras. I probably wouldn't, just because you've already got a mix of fish in there that's going to be hard to handle, like a goldfish. Long term, is probably going to swallow some of those tetras. Angelfish and goldfish food requirements a little bit different. You've got a betta in there. I feel like you've got a lot going on, kind of collectoritis going on. So I personally wouldn't add an angel to that. Can you tell the breeds on the goldfish tank? Yeah, probably. Let me pull it up in the camera here. So we've got, this is a chocolate oranda that's sitting in the corner over here. This is just a fan-tailed goldfish that got attacked by a raccoon that is still recuperating. So he's got, a little notch out of his fin still. We have a calico oranda, another calico oranda, another calico oranda, a red top oranda in the back that you guys can't really see. We've got a calico ranchu right here that is blown out from the color. Back there we've got like an olive/chocolate ranchu. Right here we have a longfin Thai oranda goldfish. And then we have another calico. And we have a red cap oranda. So what you could see is I favor orandas. I like them quite a bit. I also like ranchus quite a bit. I also like more than just red or white fish. So the calico I do enjoy. And yeah, I've been talking with someone through some email. There might be some more goldfish entering the 800 gallon. We just got to work out logistics. I'm out of town, blah, blah, blah. But we'll get it figured out. $2 from Bruce and from Fishy. Thank you. What is the best fish for eating hair algae in community tanks? I think it's a Siamese algae eater. I love flagfish, but they're a little ornery. They're more ornery than the Siamese algae eater. And those are my 2 go-tos. So that's what I would do. All right, we're in the last couple minutes here. Let me look at my checklist. What did I miss? I'm supposed to ask you guys to like, subscribe, share this with all your friends. And then I want to talk about next week. I'm changing when the live streams are going to happen from now on. What? I know. So I'm going to move them to Thursdays. So today's Wednesday. I'm going to move them to Thursdays. And I'm going to move them back 1 hour. So what does that mean? That means instead of starting at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we're going to start them at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. They're going to go till 6. And then KG Tropical's live stream starts at 6 p.m. So you can get 4 hours of fishy content if you want. And honestly, I just think we used to do that kind of stuff way back when we were doing live streams. More people would schedule them together, and we as John and I have been hanging out, like, why don't we do that kind of stuff anymore? And I said, you're right. It's all the same to me, so I'll move over to Thursdays. And that's why I knew I was going to live stream on Halloween, because that's on a Thursday. And Thanksgiving's on a Thursday. And so a lot of these events already line up on Thursdays. And so I'm moving my live stream to then. And we'll see how it goes. So it will be 1 hour earlier. Maybe that's better for you guys in Europe. Maybe it's better on the East Coast. We'll see. And maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll do seasons of like, look, you got 3 months at this time. Now we're doing 3 months at this time. We'll kind of rotate through different regions. Maybe that'll be a thing. I have no idea. So, no, I don't get home until 7:30 Eastern Standard Time on Thursdays. That should be fine, right? Right? That means you get home at 4:30 my time. That means you have already been home for 30 minutes before I start. Sounds good. So, all right. My 1.5-year-old has heard your voice for long enough from me watching your videos that she legitimately calmed down and was ready for bed when I let her watch Corey's video for a couple minutes. That's right. The go to bed voice. It's time to sleep. Yes. So yeah, some people are going to be elated because they're like, Thursday night's rad. And then some people are like, no, I work on Thursday nights. Just realize that now if you feel that way, one way or the other, there's someone that felt one way or the other on the other side. So now, 50% of the people going, yes, 50% of people going, no. We'll see where it goes, right? It's, good news is everyone can watch after the fact. So, give some other people some chances to get their questions in and that kind of stuff. And that's all we're trying to do is spread the love, make it work a little better, and, make me as accessible as possible with the time I have allotted. That's really the goal. So, let's see. Yes. That's what I got. I'm going to go because I can't linger on here. I have to pack, and I hate packing. And I have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to drive to the airport. And I realize I haven't scheduled to park my car yet. So I'm going to do that right now before I forget. Because that's going to be a problem at 3 o'clock in the morning when I want to drop my car off. And there's limited staff. And they're like, do you have a reservation? No, I don't. So we'll see you at Aquatic Experience. Hopefully you're showing up. New Jersey, make that trip. If you're not, I'll be there. We're giving away Murphy pins and maybe some other stuff. We'll see. And we'll see you around.